How you doing, folks? Be waiting a few minutes. As you know, we start at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and I thought I'd come on a little early each and every broadcast night. Why? Because I don't want to see people looking at a blank screen anymore, waiting 3 minutes before we go on the air. So what I'm going to do, folks, is if you have any questions, I like this to be question and answer time. I'm now in the chat room here. You have any questions, folks? Any at all? Let's see what we have here. Good evening, Lieutenant. Hello, sir. Good evening, everyone. Folks, the great things we're beginning to see happen with our broadcast, people from different countries are watching. A couple of broadcasts, we had people from Saipan, the United Kingdom. We had them from Germany, France, Switzerland, and a lot of good stuff's happening, folks, over the period of time in the 2 years we've been here. So this is good, very good stuff. So as our population grows here on these networks, we got Rumble, we got YouTube, we got Facebook, we got Twitter, a couple more that Twitch. So we're doing fine with our audience. Oh, now the letters. Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that, folks. The SOS letters are still coming in. We're at the little over the 20,000 mark. Could you imagine that? 20,000 letters. In fact, we're doing some changing around here in our studio, and we're going to bring the letters here. And I want to be able to take a picture, if not show you the letters live. But what has been very interesting, I tell you, really interesting to me, is the number of letters we're receiving from Europe, from other countries. I mean, to me, I never expected to receive letters from Poland, for example, Switzerland, Australia, New Zealand, France. In fact, I was wondering if we would receive any communication from anyone in France because of what's going on there. And by all means, we did. I'm just so grateful to God that people are watching and listening. And, another thing, folks, is keep in mind that you have to keep in mind that you're the major part of this by you sharing these videos and by posting them on your social media platforms. Somehow, some way, they're getting overseas. The people are responding, and I'll show you. I got the letters they're printed out. You know how you put SOS from Canada to the United States? They've got SOS from, let's say, France in support of Canada. I mean, so this is what's happening, and this is what you started. And what I really like about what's happening, and there have been some comments about this, which are good comments, by the way. People have said that this is probably one of the largest, most effective rallies ever with regard to the fight for freedom in Canada. And it's spilling over to here in the United States. It's spilling over to some of these countries that people are involved in the same type of fight. It's spilling over to a point where they're beginning to realize that this very silent and powerful way of communicating to the government is something that's working. And I will say this to you, folks. I believe, without a doubt, because I've seen it happen here in America, that when politicians see movements like this, they don't know what's going to happen next. I mean, it's not like we're going to have a rally down the street and they know we're coming and they send the police, and in some cases, in other countries, the military. They have no idea what's coming next. So, like I said, you picture, and I believe that this is going to happen. You picture 100,000 plus letters that we bring to the Congress, that we bring maybe to the Canadian. I like to drop them off in front of the Canadian embassy or consulate in New York or Washington. Wouldn't that be something? Just drop right off. Here you go, guys. But my point is how embarrassing it is for any leader of any country that another country, here in this case, the United States, was able to get 100,000 plus letters from the Canadian people and people around the world simply saying, look, we're in trouble. We need help. And so the way we're going to help, and people have asked me, well, what are you going to do with these letters? Well, as I said all along, we know that there are laws, there are legal bounds that we cannot cross and we dare not cross. And that legal bound is, getting directly involved in the elections of Canada. We can't do that. We never intended to do that. But what we did do is set up a situation where our representatives here in the United States could clearly understand that we have a problem, and I've said it all along, a national security problem on our northern border. And that national security problem is not the people of Canada, it's the government of Canada. It's the close ties that we're beginning to see exposed with the Chinese Communist Party. And I've got to tell you, that's going to raise some eyebrows here. It has already. There are things going on here that I know some of our lawmakers are looking at with regard to what Trudeau's doing. I know our media is. In fact, I've been on some major media outlets here in the United States recently talking about Canada. More are coming. And by the way, last week I was on a major news broadcast, and I'm sure you saw my response on Facebook. Apparently, I would say at least a representative of the Communist Party from China was not happy with what I had to say about the Chinese Communist Party. And my response was in a video that we posted on 6 or 7 of our social media platforms, and that resulted in another response. My point is that person or those people, I believe, are either watching this broadcast live or they are receiving it via sharing, which is fine. And if you are watching, I will tell you that no apologies. If you live in a communist country, your leaders are thugs. They should be put in prison. They should be put on trial for human rights violations. And as far as I'm concerned, that entire Communist Party should be put into the ash bin of history. And I know the Chinese Communist Party is very involved in influencing governments. Canada is one of them. They tried desperately to do that here in the United States. Not that they've disappeared, but we're beginning to eliminate their influences one by one. They can't buy farmlands anymore here. Laws are now being introduced to keep them from buying companies. We've had a number of Chinese so-called diplomats, if you will, removed. The police stations here in America from the CCP are disappearing every day. So we're taking care of business here. But I look forward to the day when we will be able to hear from the mouths of the people of Communist China those 3 words, let freedom ring. And that is exactly what the Canadian people started. They started a movement, a very powerful movement where we're able to communicate with people from other countries and use those words, let freedom ring. So you all ought to be proud of yourselves over what you're doing. So when it comes to the Communist Party, I no holds barred. I don't care what they say, what they want to do, how they want to do it. They're never going to defeat us. And we're going to simply, without any doubt, destroy them. That's exactly right. They will be destroyed by the freedom-loving people, not only in the United States, Canada, but around the world, because no one's going to take our freedom away from us. And let that also be a message to Justin Trudeau, Joe Biden, and that entire gang, if you will, who to me, when you cozy up to our enemies, to the enemies of the free people of the United States, of Canada, of France, and any other country, you belong in the same jail cell that they are going to be sent to. So I make no bones about that. So folks, that's exactly what we've been able to do, what you've been able to do, and very happy and proud of it. So before we get to our broadcast in a few minutes, by the way, Chris Sky will not be with us. We did have some communication problems. So if we have a little abbreviated broadcast tonight, please forgive me. But we're going to be talking to Chad Stewart. Now, if you are a parent, you're going to love what this guy has to say and what he started. And so I welcome you to stick around and to listen to him. So any more questions here? And then we're going to go right to our broadcast in a few minutes. Okay. Any more questions? So that's good. I'm getting a little break tonight. All right, folks, stand by. Okay. Be with you in a minute. And then we're going to get right to Chad Stewart. And then at the end of the broadcast, I'll talk to you a little bit more. So thank you. I'll be back in a minute. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get right to my interview with Chad Stewart. I talked to him a little earlier in the day. What you're going to find is a fascinating way to help your children. To help your children respond to the woke agenda, to help your children learn about life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, God and country and faith. And so we're going to get right to it. And then after my interview with Chad, I'll come back and speak with you. Thank you. This evening, Chad Stewart. You talk about a guy that's put his hand to the plow and is working very hard to bring some sanity, if you will, to this entire globe. Chad, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you. It's exciting to be here. I'm very excited to be on your show.
Well, Chad, for the benefit of our global audience, would you be kind enough to share with them who you are, where you are, and what you're doing? I got to tell you, I've read some of your work, and it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, originally from Newport Beach, California, Southern California. I was back east for about 16 years. I did my undergraduate in British literature, European history, and then went on to grad school, and then I was actually an investment banker in downtown Boston for years. And about 12 years ago, I got this idea for this book, Britfield and the Lost Crown, when I was at one of these really boring webinars, and I started to drift and I started to doodle. And I went home that weekend, and on one piece of paper, I kind of just started to outline this story about two orphans, Tom and Sarah. It takes place in England, present time, up at Yorkshire, Northern England, at this horrible orphanage called Weatherly. And Tom's been an orphan his whole life. He's been at Weatherly for 6 years, and this is the year he breaks out. But he's not going anywhere without his best friend, Sarah. And somewhere along the lines, they commandeer a hot air balloon and start flying all over England. And they're chased relentlessly by the illustrious Detective Gowerstone. And that was kind of just the gist of it. And I thought it just sounded kind of fun. And so I sat down and started to write it. And it took me 4 years, 2,500 hours to write book one. And it took over 10 years from concept and idea to actually launching it officially in August 2019. Since then, it's become a national and global bestseller. It's one of the most awarded books in children's fiction, which is extraordinary. We can talk about that. And it's become part of a 7-book series. So we launched Britfield and the Rise of the Lion, book 2, which takes place in France 2 years ago. And then just last year, we launched Britfield and the Return of the Prince. You can see the poster behind me. Kind of exciting. It takes place in Italy. And so it's just a very, very dynamic, fast-paced, fun adventure series. I think what's great about it is it's based on family, friendship, loyalty, courage, faith. And it takes place in present time. I think as children are reading it, as adults are reading it, they're learning about geography, history, art, architecture, and culture. And it really fosters the 4 C's, which is creativity, critical thinking, communication, and collaboration. I don't use anything suspended fiction, if you will, where you have magic or witchcraft or demigods or superheroes. It all takes place in real locations, current time. And when they're faced with problems, they got to figure out how to face these problems. They come up with solutions. They talk, they collaborate. Sometimes they have the right answers and they succeed. Sometimes they fail and they learn from their mistakes. And so it's just been an amazing, engaging series. Our youngest reader is 7. Our oldest reader is 93 years old. We've had 12-year-olds that have read it in 5 hours. It's part of really a global movement now. We're in the development stages of the first Britfield and Lost Crown movie, and this is the first script right here, first draft script. Just received that a couple of months ago. We're excited, and we anticipate that the movie will be one of the highest-grossing films in cinematic history. And just the other day, I was actually thinking that I think we're going to break all box office records with Britfield and the Lost Crown movie. And we can talk about that if you want to. So what we're really trying to do is we're trying to, bring things back to, or center things back on reality, number one, and family values, and really just introduce children back to just good literature, great literature that doesn't have all this nonsense and agenda-oriented stuff. We're developing 2 television programs right now. And we launched Britfield and Lost Crown theatrical play last October, and globally this February, specifically for elementary, middle school, and high schools. And so we took the 400-page story and got it into a 90-minute theatrical play. And it's an actor's play. It's not a musical, which alienates 90% of the audience. We're kids that want to get into theater. It's got roles for over 30 students and stuff. So that's kind of a quick overview, but it really turned in from an idea into a global movement into the next quarter of a century of my life. And we're excited. So I'm writing book 4 right now. So,
Chad, in a day and age when parents are being overwhelmed and inundated with pure garbage, I call it garbage because that's
yes.
what it is. The woke agenda here in the States and Canada and around the globe. Every time a parent goes to look for a book, the agenda is there. Okay, the indoctrination is there. Look, at you really rang a bell with me when you mentioned in your discussion with me. You articulated faith, family, God. We need that. We need that badly. And I've shared with people around the country that it all begins at home with mom and dad, at the school level, etc. So my question to you is this: is this book, all right? Is this book available for parents? As to what grade level would you suggest? And would you articulate once again, because we cannot overemphasize what you just said. It seems to me it's going to pull children away from that garbage, and because they're not being exposed to it anywhere, nowhere at all, believe me. And it could be in the home, and you've got the tool right there, the tool that parents have been looking for to make it exciting and drawing children in. The stories absolutely draw you in.
Yeah, and it's interesting when we launched in 2019, August 2019. Our main focus was schools, and so I started a 2.5 year school tour. I drove 9,000 miles. I visited 23 states, 23 states, and presented at over 200 schools in front of more than 40,000 students. And so we came in there and talked a little bit about Britfield and creativity and the importance of creativity and writing. And so, yeah, Britfield Lost Crown is actually already in thousands of schools across the United States. Praise be to God for that. It's already been adapted into hundreds of schools into the reading curriculum. We have an 83-page study guide for free for teachers and homeschoolers, because it's, to teach Britfield Lost Crown, in the schoolroom, at home, in the classroom. It's designed to be taught as a classic. It's, chapter by chapter. It's got vocabulary. It's got all those wonderful things. And so that's always been our beachhead. We've collaborated with one of the largest retailers in the United States. They're in 55,000 schools, and they picked Britfield and the Lost Crown about 18 months ago. They picked this book as their #1 middle school book, and they've been around for like 30 years. So that's amazing. And they get thousands of requests a year. And it's interesting. The gentleman, their book buyer, Stefan, I talked to him a couple months ago, and they're running like new programs now and kind of branching out into thousands of schools with this new program. And they represent about 60 different books. I mean, we're talking all the books, all the major publishers. And he said we had complaints from all the parents and teachers for all the books except Britfield. I just thought, wow, that's pretty cool. So they're just getting ready to do a huge purchase order, about 100,000 bind-ups. This is book 1 and 2, which is kind of cool. So this is the entire book. And what's neat about the book is that it's, you asked me about the age range. So book 1, Tom and Sarah are 12. Book 1 is 384 pages. And so it's really kind of geared towards that middle school. Our youngest reader's been 7, but I'd almost say kind of like your 9 to 12, 9 to 13-year-old for book 1, Britfield and Lost Crown. But what's great about book 2, Britfield and the Return of the Prince, Britfield and the Rise of the Lion, takes place in France. This is 474 pages. Tom and Sarah are now 13 years old. And so this is a lot more intense. They're a little bit older. And as you know, at that age, from 12 to 13, I always say it's like a decade, because kids progress very quickly at that age, and they're very different. They don't like to necessarily read down, but they like to read up. And then book 3, which we just launched in September of last year, is just 575 pages. And now Tom and Sarah are 14 years old and takes place in Italy. And so that's what I'm doing through the whole series. So I'm really starting at middle school and ending in young adult. I think book 2 is sort of our bridge from elementary to young adult. And then book 3 is definitely young adult, 14. I had one wonderful review from a 14-year-old high school student. She's 14. She's in Virginia, and she said she goes I just got done with book 3. She goes, I love the whole series. She goes, you're now up there with Lord of the Rings. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. And we just had some really great comments and feedback. We received hundreds, if not thousands, of replies, emails. So it's just been a really, really great book. So it's interesting. We also have the audio version. And so I think it's a great book for parents. Like if you have a 5 or 6 or 7-year-old, you'll have to sort of read it and gauge it for yourself and where they're at. But it's a great book to read. And I know a lot of parents that will read it. I know some parents that can't wait for the next book to come out, and they sit around and read a chapter a night, and they do the different characters. I mean, it's just really cool. I know another family that emailed us and said, we've now created the Britfield board game. I thought, how cool is that? Like, what does that look like? And so it's really been interesting. It's really fostering what I would hope it to do. It's fostering creativity. It's fostering ideas. Kids are kind of writing their own little books now, or doing really beautiful drawings of the different scenes throughout England in book one and stuff. And we're just having major impact. So it really depends. Yeah. So that's how it's gauged, though. And then it goes around the world. So book 4 is going to be in Eastern Europe, starts in Vienna, ends in Russia. Book 5 will be in Asia. Book 6 will be in South America. And then book 7 will be in the United States. And so at the end of book 7, Tom and Sarah are now 18 years old. So we've traveled around the world, current time, real places, real history, real architecture, real culture. So it's kind of just a one, and 55% of our reading audience are adults. So
why Britfield?
Yeah, just a cool name that I sort of made up about 10 years ago. Like I like.
Let me interrupt a minute.
Yeah,
it is. I got to tell you, when I have the book, I said, look at this. I mean, Britfield. What is it? That draws you in. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And it's funny too, because I've had some of my friends who've read it, and they really enjoyed it, and they're like, and we incorporate. I mean, what is Britfield, right? Britfield and Lost Crown, and that's kind of the hint. And the Lost Crown means a sense of royalty, right? So there's something about Britfield and lost royalty, and I don't want to give anything away, but it's sort of an ancient royal family from England, and we tie in all the different history and the different centuries of history. And I've had parents that say, "Is Britfield real?" And but it's really just a name that I made up, and we've trademarked it and copied right everything and stuff like that. But it's fun. It's fun to make up names. I do that with some of my characters, like there's Professor Hainsworth and Gower Stone and the Grievuses. And I was definitely influenced by Charles Dickens. He's probably one of my favorite authors and writers. I mean, he was prolific. He was incredible. He had an amazing way of creating engaging real stories with a Shakespearean cast of characters from all these different walks of life. And somehow, as you're reading the story, they all sort of come together at the end, and they all know each other and somehow are connected. And it's just amazing. So I was very influenced by him, by his characters. And we try to figure out a way, like, what is Britfield in today's society, in the sense of what category would it go in? And I don't know, because I'm a big C.S. Lewis fan, but again, that's suspended reality. That's the world of Narnia. And then there's Tolkien, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. But again, that's kind of this post-apocalyptic mystical world. And so I think in some ways Dickens is one of the closest, because he wrote fictional books based on real locations, real characters, real people he knew. In fact, he got in trouble quite often, because if there's like this nasty lawyer, it's actually a nasty lawyer that he knows, and they'll read the story and they say, that's me, you know what I mean? Like, but it was great. And I think that's what engaged the audience, that it was real. It wasn't, it was real places, real locations, mostly London and stuff. So,
Chad, one of the things we do at Campaign for America, obviously we're a secular nonprofit organization, but one thing I promised God was that He was never going to take the back seat to what we're doing. We're one of the few, if maybe the only one in the United States, broadcast that is, that will have a discussion about the spirituality, the biblical perspectives that people bring to the forefront of any issue, especially in these days and ages, this day and age. And I'm listening to you, and I'm realizing that perhaps I believe we all have a calling. This no doubt, to me at least, is your calling from God. But I have concluded just by listening to you that God's using you to plant seeds. I mean, especially in young people. I mean, and those seeds, you seem to not only have created a seed with the first book, but you're watering it as time goes on. And so I must tell you that He's given you in this time, in the period of history that we are living, with a great spiritual war. I believe we're in a great spiritual war, other than a political war, military, economic, but it's a great spiritual war. But I think God's given you the ability to give parents, especially, the tools they need in order to say, hey, look, this is what you need to learn: God, family, faith. Now, are there any biblical principles that you have used in your stories? I'm curious about that, because you mentioned the other authors, and not really reality, but yours is reality.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, it's designed for all audiences, all demographics, and all countries, but it really is based on those sort of biblical principles, one could say, and it's in there if you read it, and we dive a little bit deeper in book 2 and book 3, and it just naturally starts to come out. I'm not preaching to the choir and stuff, and it really just anchors it into family values, real family values, biblical family values, if you want to go down that road. But it's not sort of the it's very similar to Lewis and what Lewis did
Yeah,
with Narc.
yeah, yeah. Not preachy, not preach. I get it. I get it.
Not at all, no. And so anyone from any faith, any background can read it, but it's anchored in that. And my focus, I mean, I know we're like in this flash over substance, complete comical nonsense movie right now, United States and globally. And it's hard. We all get distracted. And I think it's really important. Number one, I think we're all gifted. Absolutely. God has given us all gifts and wonderful gifts. He's given us talent. We're all born creative. So whether you feel that you're creative or not, you are creative. Often we get sidetracked. We have to do a job we don't want to do and stuff, and we sort of lose that creativity. And so our focus is Britfield and staying on point and not being distracted over here or there or doing what we shouldn't be doing or trying to do all things to all people. We're focused on Britfield. We're focused on the schools. We're focused on the elementary and middle schools specifically, to really engage our next generation of children and readers into these types of good principles and critical thinking and independence and creativity and collaboration, communication, entrepreneurship, that freedom, that sense of adventure. I remember a friend of mine, her daughter Iris, read book 1 like 3 or 4 times. It's like her favorite book. She read it a couple years ago, and Barbara's her name, and she goes, my daughter just now turned her whole room into an adventure room. And I thought, based on Britfield Lost Crown, I thought, how cool is that? A lot better to turn your room into an adventure room, probably with like maps and posters of different countries, than a room of witchcraft. You know what I mean? And so really, we are absolutely the opposite of Harry Potter, but we will outsell Harry Potter in 10 years. That's my statement. We will outsell Harry Potter in 10 years. This is what the world needs. This is what the world wants. There's an 80% gap for family-focused, family-valued books right now that is not being filled, that cannot be filled. And if you said there's 10 other, writers out there that are doing it, I'd say, fantastic. Put me in touch with them so I can help them, because you cannot create enough good content. And so that's why we know for a fact that the movie, I just had that sense. We follow the box office. I've got a great producer team, and I just spoke with them last week. I'll talk to him again this week. We're in collaboration all the time. We're putting together a team. If everything goes well, we'll be in pre-production by the end of fall. And the first Britfield and the Lost Crown movie could be launched December 2024 if everything goes well. But right now, again, too, in any media, especially like the film, what's out there? It's either these superhero, ridiculous, agenda-focused movies, $300 million budget movies with another $200 million into it, or nothing. There's no middle market anymore. When's the last time you've seen like a Blind Side? Just a feel-good movie that knocks the ball out of the park? There's nothing out there. And so I think Britfield's going to come out, and I think it's going to be like a Titanic moment, like a Star Wars moment for the film industry, because finally there's a really good, fun, exciting, fast-paced, family-focused movie that is totally entertaining, but nothing's compromised. There's no agenda. And kids are going to see it 5, 6, 7 times. Parents are finally going to be able to take their kids out. Grandparents can take their grandkids. And so we're excited.
I have an idea. And when I use that phrase to people working with me here at Campaign for America, they say, oh, no, we got enough work we're doing. Now what is he thinking about? So here's an idea, and I want to bounce this off you.
Sure.
We have, unfortunately, across this country, and I'm sure others, and a lot of parents and others have written me about it, unfortunately, whether you call them drag queen story hours or this story hour, that story, a lot of fake nonsense, political stuff that's designed to target children. Now, here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that maybe one of the things we can do, and I say maybe because we're so overwhelmed, I don't know if we can do it, but the idea is there. And sometimes, I'm going to say all the time, when I get an idea, we do it. I'm thinking of, even with the technology we have with Zoom, to have some parents maybe have a story hour with their children via Zoom, if not physically. And I would encourage them to get in touch with us, buy the book, but then have a good articulate person read it to kids, whether it be on Zoom or whatever. What do you think of that?
I love it. I think it's a great idea. It's like everybody is quick to complain, and I think what you just mentioned that's happening right now is disgusting. It's nonsense, and it needs to be shut down. And there's plenty of people out there that can do it, and the time has come now. The line has been crossed, to say the very least. And I also think a reckoning is coming for the nonsense that's happening right now in the schools. And
Yeah.
I really fear for the people that are behind their agendas, because it's gonna get really, really ugly for them really, really fast. Nobody's gonna. I was just doing what I was told, or the union told me, or I didn't want to lose my position. That's not going to fly anymore. I mean, you're. But anyway, I like your. I love your idea. I think it's great. It's interesting too, because when the thing had happened in 2020, we were on part of our tour. I was in Memphis, Tennessee. I was finally in the Midwest. I was excited because I was going to be driving up to Chicago and Ohio and New England, March 2020, when this whole thing happened and all the schools started shutting down. And so we switched over to Zoom school presentations, which was pretty cool. I mean, it's kind of hard because nothing beats being in front of an auditorium of 300 kids and presenting, and then doing book signings and talking to them and having fun. But we adjusted and we adapted to that, and I think everyone is Zoom savvy now, right? I mean, 2 years ago, not so much. Now everyone's, and so it's great. We did our first international school in Australia last year. How cool is that? It was like 16 and a half hours ahead of us. So it was like the next day. But I was like just talking to you right now, and I was presenting to the classroom or the school, and it was really cool. So I love the idea. I think it's great, and I'm saying all that to say, we need it's great to put a front up for it and not allow it at the school. And if you have to find, there's plenty of lawyers out there, there's plenty of legal teams, there's plenty of faith-based legal teams that can come in and shut these things down. And if that's what you're called to, that's great. But the difference is do something, counter it, counter it with something. That's why, like, I could sit here and complain about all the filth and the books that are in Barnes and Noble and all the other bookstores out there, just crap, like you said, or spend 10,000 hours and create a movement. And I'm not saying that's for everybody, but that's what I'm doing. I'm not complaining about the books. I'm presenting. I'm creating something that's alternative. Yeah.
Well, here's what I'd like to do. I read something where I think Charles Spurgeon had mentioned. I every morning at 4 or 5 o'clock, I'm up and I'm reading Spurgeon, and he mentioned something where we do have a responsibility to God to pass on what we've learned to the next generation, and to hope to God that they hear it and that they go down a path of righteousness, if you will. But here's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about getting in touch with, at least me locally here, with some of our parent-teacher organization presidents. And I want to share with them any promotional material you can send me. This is important, okay?
Yeah.
And at least locally, what I want to do is get them on board, if I can, all right, to have a story hour, all right? And you're absolutely right. Nobody could shut us down, but they could shut down Public School Net, but they can't shut Campaign for America down. And the people listening, we've got thousands and thousands of people listening. Well, here's your chance. What I'd like you to do, I'm going to put up our email, okay? Let's see, here it is. I want you to email us to our website, and please let me know if you are interested in two things. One, reading, all right, reading the stories to children, or two, if you can have some children attend a story hour. We'll use our technology here. By the way, there's no charge, as you know, for anything we do. And all we have to do is encourage you to go out and buy the book, okay? And then encourage parents to buy their children the book. And then maybe that way, folks, here it is, your opportunity to counteract all of that. Chad, I couldn't say it any better. All of that we're complaining about. All people do is complain, and then they want solutions. Well, here goes a solution. I mean, a real good solution. What do you think of that, Chad?
Love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, I mean, and you'll mention it, later, but our website, Britfield.com, BRITFELED, Britfield.com. We have like 400 pictures. What's great about the award-winning website was designed to complement the book. And so if you're doing like a book study, even with your kids, or you're doing it in the classroom, or you want to do this reading hour or book hour, go to the website. We have over 400 pictures of England, all the places that this takes place. We have interactive maps. We have over 100 pages of information. And so our website's kind of a great resource for that. Also, what I'll do is I will send you a Britfield PDF study guide. I'll email you today.
And
when
any
we're done.
promo material would be important.
Yeah.
Now, hold on. I want you to look at what I'm posting here, and I want to make sure the spelling is right, okay? Hold on one there, okay? Is this your website?
That's it. Perfect.
Good. Oh, I missed the COM. Hold on. Let me go.
Oh, you did.
That's because I don't have my glasses on, folks. Hold on. Here we go. All right. So there's Chad's website, folks. I really encourage you to go there. Of course, anytime you want to button the work, there we go. Let's see. I encourage you to go to Chad's website, look it over, folks. And then, as I said, get in touch with us and we'll set something up. And Chad, if you don't mind, I want to keep you posted as to how this study.
Oh, please do. Yeah.
The story time. Well, I think I'll tell you what, there's story times for every unimaginable evil thing. And here we've got an opportunity now with this publication to say, you know what, this would be great.
Great about it too is that it's not this fantasy. You wave a wand to solve problems. It's like book one takes place in England, and so you're up in Yorkshire, and then you're down to Oxford and Windsor and London, and down to the south, down to Canterbury, and that's just book one, and it takes place all over England, and so it's fun to think about it and discuss it and all the things they face and the issues and the different characters, and it's just like I said, it's designed for a story hour. It's designed for a book reading or book class. It's designed to be taught. We have a huge impact in the homeschool market. I love the homeschool market. We're big fans of it. Yeah, it's gone from 5 million to 15 million people in 2 years, and growing. It is the new level of education. We right now are an educational reformation and in a homeschool revolution, and it's exciting. And there's over 1,000 charter schools just in the United States. I mean, just in California. What does that tell you about California and the system? I mean, it's
oh, wow. Well, when you're in the will of God, it's an amazing thing. We get ideas, and we pursue them. Some of them, I don't think anybody fails. I think everybody succeeds, even if they take an idea and it doesn't take root. But the fact of the matter is, when God's in it, I've got to tell you, it gets blessed. And obviously, your efforts have been blessed because you have included the King of Kings and all that you do. And I'm very happy about that. This is really fantastic.
One of my favorite Spurgeon quotes is he says, if you're called to the ministry, never stoop to be a king or queen.
I love it.
Right. Love it. And D.L. Moody is another one of my favorites. If you haven't read his biography, I highly recommend you read D.L. Moody's biography. I mean, his relatively uneducated, never went to, I don't think he finished high school. He didn't go to college, but God used him. And it's like, he brought millions to church and Christ, and amazing. So anyway, and I think he knew Spurgeon. I think he eventually went over to England and started that whole.
Well, one day we'll see those fellows. One day we will. Well, all right, Chad. So that wraps it up. This has been really exciting. I'll tell you, I enjoy it. And but you see, the good thing, what I like about the way the good Lord has guided us, if you will, with this broadcast, we not only identify problems, but we bring solutions. You brought a solution today, and maybe well, not maybe, but you brought a lot of answered prayer for parents to say, where do I lead my children? Show me thy way, teach me thy path, saith the Lord. Well, here we go. Any last things you want to say to our audience? By the way, thousands of people from Canada now watching you.
Yeah, I was going to shout out to my brothers and sisters in Canada. I love Canada. I love Canadians. I've traveled up there quite a bit, and it's just a great country, great people, and fight the good fight and keep the faith. And you guys are going through it and stuff. And and to England and Australia, New Zealand, we just sold a bunch of books, all three books to a huge bookstore in New Zealand. We sold big order to schools in Australia. We're having people in Japan, India, Italy, all over the world reading it right now. Our first Britfield and Lost Crown translation was in Poland, into Polish, and we're killing it right now. We're selling thousands of these books in Poland right now. And so if there's anyone from Poland that's listening, I can't wait to get there and tour your country.
Well, we just got letters. We've been working very hard to help the Canadian people preserve their freedoms and liberties. As you know, things are very bad up there. But saying that, I believe they're going to win that fight. But we had put a call out for people to simply write us and let us know that they're in support of the Canadian people. And within the 20,000 plus letters we received over the past 3 weeks, we've got a load of them from Poland, as well as 6 other countries. And they're still coming. Good stuff, huh? Good stuff.
Love it.
Well, Chad, that's it. I thank you. Can we have you on again in the future?
Yes, yeah, I love to bring up the updates with the movie, and
Yes.
we're gonna start some global tours. We're hoping for an Eastern European tour,
Hmm.
8 to 10 countries over 2 months in the fall, if everything goes well, and an Asian tour, and so we've got a lot of plans.
And we'll give you an update on this story time. I really want to do this, folks. So more on that a little later. Chad, thanks so much, and God bless you. Thank you very much.
Welcome, thank you.
All right, folks, what do you think of that, folks? So here's a guy that comes along, right? He gets a call from God, and all these years later, you know what? We're able to have him on the air, and he is an answer, I believe, an answer to the prayers of many people, especially parents. So here's your chance. Here's your opportunity. All right. So again, email us. Here's his website down there. Check him out again on his website. But email us if you're interested in conducting a story hour. We got the technology. We'll somehow get you on a Zoom here, and we'll get everybody involved. And you'll be the ones, instead of me talking, you'll be the ones reading that story. What do you think of that, folks? All right. Thank you, folks. I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, folks, I'm back. What do you think of that? So I'll tell you what, folks, take advantage of this opportunity if you can. We'll work with you if you are a teacher, a mom, a dad, whoever you are. If you would like to read some stories out of that book to your children, it's something that would be, I think, worth your while. What about a story hour about something that promotes God and country? A story hour that promotes faith. I'll tell you what, it's not being done anywhere, so maybe we could start it. Now, as you were listening to the broadcast on some of our social media platforms, I did get some messages about certain topics, and I want to share these topics with you because they affect the United States as well as Canada. The issue of Pride Month, of the Pride flag being flown, comes up every time of the year in June. Okay. Well, to begin with, I've got to tell you, when I was on the city council, our board of commissioners here in New Jersey, I voted against. I was a lone vote against any type of proclamation recognizing Pride Month. I was a lone vote against any idea of flying a Pride flag. I was opposed to lighting up buildings with the rainbow colors, and I did. And my opposition was simply this, folks. Look at it. People who are gay, that's their business. Not my business. It's not the government's business. I don't hold anything against anybody. It's their lifestyle, not mine. And that's fine. However, I do not like a political agenda being pushed on me. And to me, the LGBTQ community and transgender and whatever it is community has developed into a very, very in my view, evil activist group. Now, I have friends who are gay. I have friends who are not straight. And they're great people. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them. That's their lifestyle. So go do your thing. But the idea of pushing an agenda, a political agenda, on our children is really, really troubling to me. But what's more troubling is this. I'm waiting for someone to file a lawsuit here in the United States of America against the pride groups that are flying the rainbow flag. Now, why would I say that? Because I've been thinking for such a long time that in the United States of America, we have a separation of church and state, correct? Well, the rainbow, in my view, based on history, it's in the Bible, is a religious symbol. It is a covenant between God and man. The rainbow, think about that, America, the Americans who are listening. We are not allowed to fly religious symbols on government property. Want to put it on your house? Fine. I'm a taxpayer, and I happen to believe in the Word of God. So I would like to know, in fact, maybe Campaign for America could pursue this. I mean, we're pursuing so many other things. Maybe this. If there's any lawyer out there in the United States who's watching, get in touch with me. Why don't we file a lawsuit against any government that's flying that flag and based it on religious beliefs? Because that's what the rainbow is. It is a symbol of a covenant between God and man, written right in the Bible. So I would dare to say that that's a violation. That is a violation of separation of church and state. That's what they wanted, the liberals. Well, we could throw it right back in their face. The idea of flying a flag, whether it be a pride flag or another flag on a church, really troubles me. I've been throughout the country and I've seen buildings with pride flags on. And of course, I will never go into those business. They lost my business. I don't know why they get involved in this. They'd lose my business if they would put other types of symbols that I am in disagreement with. But on a church, it kind of bothers me because if, first of all, it's a violation of God's law. I don't care what people say or think. I don't care what they think of me when I say it's a violation of God's law, but it is a violation of God's law, okay, when you support something contrary to the word of God. But when you put a pride flag on a church flagpole, what kind of message is that? You shouldn't have to identify who a person is. If a gay person wants to walk into your church, fine. If a lesbian wants to walk into your church, fine. We don't have to know they're lesbian or gay. That's their business. But you see, the church has compromised the work that God has given them. And maybe that's why we're in this position we are. Maybe I believe for the most part, that's why we're in the position we're in. If you're gay, it's your business. Lesbian, it's your business. Transgender, that's your business. In my view, you're going to be held accountable to God for your actions, as I would be and will be accountable for my actions when I'm leaving this earth and I get right outside the gates of heaven trying to get in. But for a church to fly such a flag, boy, I'll tell you, if anything is a slap in the face to the scriptures, to God Almighty, it's that. So look, folks, if you go to a church that's flying that flag, you might want to tell your pastor. You might want to let him know that he's wrong, dead wrong. I've done that with a few people. I just let them know how I feel. Whether they care or not, that's now their business, not mine. But the gay movement, the lesbian movement, the transgender movement, I do not paint a broad picture and blame every single person who's gay or lesbian or whatever they are. I don't blame all of them. But the activists, like we have activists in the Democrat Party here, activists in the Liberal Party in Canada and other parties around the world, they have taken control of any narrative that any group wanted to make in a peaceful manner without infringing the rights of others. To this point, folks, to this point, that a few weeks ago in New York City, some group, allegedly a transgender supporting group, went into a Catholic church. This is fact. You could look this up in New York City and had the nerve, the audacity to put a transgender statue of Jesus on the altar. Desecrated the symbols of that church. Who does that in their right mind? And, I think it was Brian Kilmeade on Fox the other day said exactly what I said last week, and I'll repeat it again. I dare those people, dare them to go into another religious order and do that. Do that and see what happens. So we're living in evil times. Now, the good news is that as of today, I understand that drag queen shows have now been prohibited on all U.S. military bases. Drag queen laws are being passed to prohibit drag queen story times, if you will, and drag queen shows in certain cities and towns. Some of them went to court, and I guess they won the court cases, but they're prohibited from actually committing any of their acts within a certain amount of feet regarding schools. But we're fighting back. You want to be a drag queen? That's your business. You're transgender, your business. Whatever you are, it's your business. Don't infringe on my rights. Don't infringe on my children's lives. The audacity. But you see, when we're quiet, when we say nothing and do nothing, it's tacit approval. Tacit approval to what they're doing. And now they believe that we've been so quiet that we have decided just to surrender our rights and they could do whatever they want. Well, that's not going to happen anymore, folks. Because I said all along, I'm tired of being on the defensive. We need to be on the offensive. We do it in a peaceful way. We do it in a lawful way. And we absolutely defeat them. And as Chad Stewart said, I got to tell you, the lawmakers, the politicians, and some of them are my friends who took a knee to Black Lives Matter, who worshipped, in my view, the transgender movement, and who feels that it's okay. Well, you're going to be held accountable. You really are. And if you don't believe that, well, you don't have to believe it, but you'll believe it when you see it, because you will see it. When you have to come face to face with the Creator. And speaking of the Creator, listen to this one, folks. So now we've got AI, right? We've got artificial intelligence. Now we're being told the robots are going to take over the workplaces. The robots are going to fight the wars. The robots are going to do this. The robots are going to do that. And the robots are going to do our thinking. Now think about this. I just thought of this the other day. So now the creator of the robots are going to become subservient to what they created. How does it feel, folks? How does it feel? You build something, and that something gets smarter than you and begins to pretty much determine your destiny. How does that feel? Well, how do you think God feels? The Creator who created us, and what mankind is doing. What mankind is doing, they're disregarding the Creator, and they decided mankind to do his own thing and to defame and disgrace and tear down everything the Creator gave us to be free, to live free, to prosper. That's exactly what mankind is doing to God, the Creator. So for those of you who are happy with being on your own and having no God, wait, you're going to have a God, all right. And it may be that crazy looking robot. It may be that crazy looking robot that your agenda allowed to take control of your life. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. The good news is those of us who believe in Jesus Christ, who believe in faith, family, and those things that bring countries together, we win. Believe me, we win. I say that over and over again because it's the truth. We win and they lose. Now, remember a few weeks ago, I said, look, folks, we got to do something with Bud Light, or we got to do something with these companies that are pushing this woke agenda on us. We got to hit them in the pocketbook. We don't hit them in the pocketbook, they're going to continue to do what they're doing. Well, Bud Light, Target, a few other companies have lost billions and billions and billions of dollars in profit. Their shareholders are screaming. Pretty soon, they'll probably be jumping out windows. Every single week, the shareholders of these companies are losing billions, not millions, but billions of dollars. And the next target is the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Los Angeles Dodgers in the United States of America have decided to honor an organization that, from what I understand, promotes or supports the idea of transgender nuns, lesbianism, gays, nuns. What kind of organization has the Los Angeles Dodgers become? You see, Major League Sports in America used to be the place you could go and get away from all the madness. Now you're walking right into the madness. Don't give me your money, folks. Don't give me money. Don't watch the games. Forget it. I've said it. I got criticized for saying this a couple of weeks ago. Drive them, those companies, into bankruptcy. Drive them into bankruptcy. I mean that. Drive them into bankruptcy. Run them out of business. You have a right to do that. You want to know why? It's your money. So things are going fine, folks. Things are going fine. I'm a little tired, I'm sure you can tell. But I'm going to wrap things up by telling you this. Here's some real good news for the Canadians. My good assistant here handed me a note with the list of countries that have responded to the SOS letter campaign. Listen to this, folks. The Czech Republic, United Kingdom, Poland, Portugal, Netherlands, of course, America, Canada, France, New Zealand, and Australia. And I'm going to believe more countries are going to be writing. What do you think of that? All right, folks. So that's about it. And we've got a lot to do moving forward, don't we? But we're going to do it. We're going to win. Look, I mean it. If you are someone who wants to get involved and maybe bringing some sanity to some young kids, God knows what they're being taught in the schools today. Parents have the power. Well, now we got the tool. I'll put our website up there again. That's campaignforamerica.com. You'll see on the barcode, you'll see contact us. Give us your name and phone number, but please put in that narrative story hour. Okay, we get hundreds and hundreds of these a day, and sometimes people don't put what they wrote to us for. So please put story hour, and we'll have somebody get in touch with you. Well, that's it, folks. I want to thank you for joining me. We've got some exciting guests coming up in the near future. I'm going to have one night, I believe it's in, if not next week, maybe in July, we're going to have the son of a police officer who was killed in a terrorist attack in the United States here some time ago. He has quite a story to tell us. And also someone from the Border Patrol whose partner was killed right in front of him. So we got a lot to talk about. And of course, the Canadian guests have been superb. We got a lot more coming on to talk about what's going on and educating people around the world, and especially in America, how bad things are in Canada because it affects our national security. That's it, folks. Thanks so much for joining me. God bless you all. Have a great week, and I'll see you. Now, Wednesday nights, remember, Wednesday nights we have our, I call it, it's a radio broadcast, folks. It's a 5-minute discussion, if you will, or a 5-minute talk about events that are happening today. But I have it loaded with biblical scriptures, with prophecy, and with some of the things that we see happening in the world today and what God said would happen. So it's only 5 minutes, but it's taken root, and we've gotten a tremendous amount of feedback. And those messages are there to encourage you as well as give you information. That's it, folks. Thanks so much. God bless you all. Have a great evening. I'm Lieutenant Steve.